Hi, my name is Stephen Hawes, the founder and CEO of Opulo, and this is the June 2025 Opulo Company Update. Opulo is an open source hardware company making the Lumen PNP, which is a desktop pick-and-place machine used for assembling electronic components onto circuit boards. The Lumen PNP is meant for assembling PCBs in a wide range of production scales, anywhere from just a handful of boards for a prototyping run, all the way up to production of a few thousand units a year like we actually do here, making boards that go into the Lumen PNP itself. As always, this video is following along with a blog post on our website, so if you'd like to follow along there's a link in the description. Okay, first up is our lead times. Our lead times are still unchanged from last month, but we actually had to do a lot to make sure that they did not get longer. This spring has been pretty intense for order volume, and it's everything we've been doing to just even try and keep it even keel with 4 weeks. We've been doing a lot of stuff here to try and facilitate kind of this new volume of orders that we're handling. So this includes a lot of infrastructure changes, new workbenches and stations for making certain things, hiring and getting more people in to actually build units. We've also seen a little bit of a shift in what people are buying, and the spread of really mainly like feeders to lumen ratio has been changing a little bit. So we've been doing some reorganization to try and figure out how to better build these things faster. And hiring has been a part of that. So we've had more people come on recently, and as we train them up and we get some of these infrastructure changes in place, we hopefully are gonna be able to get ahead of this thing. For a while, we've been trying to do small incremental changes to get rid of the lead time, and recently Lucian and I have discussed making some bigger sweeping decisions to really try and bring it down and prioritize making it shorter. Every time we've tried to make a move like this though, something changes that makes it so that we can't really get it down to zero, higher order volume, any number of things. But it's always something we're thinking about, and we have been actively spending a lot of time trying to get our production capacity higher to bring the lead time down. Okay, next up is wide feeders. I've been working along at the design ever since we got that first prototype version of it working. That was enough confirmation to me that that is the approach we should follow, and now it's really just time for refinement. As I said in the last monthly update, we did the first 90%, now it's time for the second 90% of all the tuning and tweaking and adjustment and really making it polished and ready for production. Recently, I've been working a lot on the schematic. Functionally, the schematic for the feeder is going to do the exact same thing that the current schematic does for the existing feeders. We're just making a couple part changes for a few reasons. It'd be nice to improve power efficiency a little bit, so we've been poking into that. And a lot of the parts that I chose when we did the schematic years ago now was amidst the chip shortage, and part availability was very different, and the bill of materials reflects that. But now that parts are a little bit more available, and some of the parts that were available back then, some builders are actually having a hard time sourcing now, I'm changing what parts we're using for things that are just ubiquitous and inexpensive. So that's been a huge bulk of the work going into schematic updating, is really just modernizing and cost downing it a little bit, but it's gonna do the same thing. The peel gear mechanism is something that I've been working on. A user in Discord recommended that I use a dovetail to hold the peel gear frame assembly into the frame of the whole feeder, and it's such a cool idea. I spent a lot of time tweaking and adjusting the geometry of it, and now the whole peel gear frame slides really nicely into the frame, is secured with just 2 screws. It's always been pretty important to me that the peel gear assembly is easily replaceable. In practice, not a lot of people have had to do that in production, just from like lifetime wear or anything, but it's still important to me that it is easy to replace. So the fact that just a couple screws, you can pop it out, pop in a new one, is really nice. I like that fact a lot. And the dovetail keeps it really securely in place too, and has good engagement with the peel motor, which is kind of tucked away inside the frame, so I'm happy with that. The last big thing that I'm still trying to figure out is the pick window. As I spoke about the last video on my YouTube channel about making and designing this feeder, having this bigger opening means that it's much more important to have a little bit of positive pressure on the tape, pushing it down into the drive wheel and making sure we have good engagement there. I've been experimenting with printed flexures, which I'm always a little hesitant to engage with, but it seems like that is a possibility, but really spring steel is the thing I'm really considering here. So I have a couple designs for how I'm thinking about applying like a nice gentle pressure onto the tape, still allowing the tape to go back and forth easily. So I have a couple designs that I'm kicking off in order for a prototype of those pretty soon, and I'll be able to test them out in a prototype. We also got in some samples for some bigger drive motors. So we use the N20 standard DC motor for all of the motors in the feeder. The peel and the drive motor both use an N20 with different gearboxes on the end. The drive motor uses a right angle N20 gearbox, but there exists an M30, which is a slightly longer motor body. It has the same profile, but it's just a little bit longer. And we talked to our motor vendor about potentially getting a couple of these in. We are now going to be driving thicker tape with bigger, heavier parts. So we want to have the option to use a bit beefier of a motor to support some of these tapes. I got a couple samples of these motors in and they look really cool. I honestly don't think they're going to be necessary, but I'd like to test them out and see how they operate and what the difference in power is. And as always, all this development is happening live in GitHub. If you go to our feeder repository, there's a branch called 2U. These feeders take up 2 slots on the Lumen, so we're calling them 2U, like 2 units. I'm gonna be putting a notice into Discord pretty soon to the review squad role so that folks there can take a peek at the schematic and give some feedback on what should be changed. I'm still in the middle of working on it, but if you'd like to go in and put your 2 cents in, there's a link to the GitHub in the description and also in the blog post. And yeah, we're gonna get a nice new pass on this board. Okay, next up is the Ohm podcast. We are finally back into a cadence of episodes. We are finally back into it. For everyone that's been waiting, thank you so much for your patience. This hiatus has been weird. I've missed recording, and it's good to be back into the flow of it. Lucian and I recorded an episode a long time ago, months ago now, that Mitchell put together as an edit and pushed out, I think just a couple weeks ago, about actually starting a company and if you should and what it's like to do it and kind of all those meta things about it. And then Thea and I recorded one about influential media, which just went up today, actually, as I'm recording this. And we're gonna be shooting for every 2 weeks as a cadence again. It may not be perfectly like that because stuff's still a little tumultuous, but hopefully we'll be back into our normal cadence and we'll have episodes coming out every 2 weeks. And there's a link in the blog post where you can listen. It's podcast.opulo.io. There's a link in the description and you can find it anywhere you get podcasts. Okay, next up is the paste utility. So when we put the beta for the paste extruder out, way more people were interested in it than we expected. It was just kind of a random little thing that I thought would kind of be interesting for a YouTube video that I was working on the weekends, but people want it. People are using it in a capacity we were not expecting. So I made a quick little utility, a web utility that is meant to drive pasting jobs. You can find it right now. It's paste.opulo.io. It connects to your Lumen over web serial, just like our debug tool does. And you can even upload a paste Gerber file and it will effectively act as a little bit of a slicer and G-code sender, generate a G-code job for pasting a board and send it off to your Lumen. You can also puppeteer the head and capture positions where the nozzle is and then make a job based on that as well. We have a lot of customers that use it for not extruding solder paste onto a board, but they're putting greases or glues or other things onto different surfaces so that they use it for that kind of application as well. It supports capturing positions. But it's definitely a little rough around the edges. It does work, but you have to like capture a single position to align it manually, and then it doesn't handle rotation, and like it's pretty bare bones. So I've been working on improving the tool quite a bit with a lot of feedback that a lot of customers have been giving me about what it's like to use it. If you're one of those people, thank you so much. It's incredibly helpful to hear and has been directly informing what I work on in this tool. The main thing that I've been trying to consider is the fact that alignment is super manual and takes a lot of time when you're loading a board in. So what I've also ended up doing is having the tool connect to the top camera of your Lumen and bring the video feed of the top camera into the utility as well. So I have this view of the top camera feed with a crosshair so you can see the center point, and it makes it really easy to navigate. And I also have a WebAssembly bundled version of OpenCV in there as well, so it also has fiducial detection support. I'm still fleshing out a lot of the UX for this because it is kind of a strange process, but ideally what I want to happen is to be able to just hit run when you load a board in and it will scan the fiducials to align the board and then run a pasting job just like you would in OpenPNP for population. What gets tricky about this is actually getting the fiducial positions coupled with the pasting placements. Thea had a great idea about using the front mask layer, which will effectively couple where your paste is and where your fiducials are. So I'm trying to figure out what the best UX is for making a good process of loading in a board and running a pasting job automatically with this web tool. It's been a lot of fun figuring out how to get all this to work, and it even has the same kind of functionality that OpenPNP has where you can click on the camera view and it will jog to wherever you click. It's cool. It's really, really cool. So I've been working on this a bit here and there as I've had a little bit of time in between also working on wider feeders and just general operations of this place and us trying to expand with new order volume. So I'm not sure exactly when I'm gonna have this new version out, but I have been putting some time into it and also a little bit of my spare time too because it's really fun to work on. What my goal is that once you generate all your Gerber files, you could send those off to a fiber laser or even your PCB fab to get your PCBs made. And then you also send those files to this web tool. You drop your board directly into your Lumen, it knows where to find it, it does the fiducial cal, it pastes a little bit of solder paste directly where it needs to go, and then you're ready for population. Maybe even directly afterwards, not even removing it from the machine. That's what I want to accomplish with this tool. That's my goal here. So also part of making this tool better is adding really good, sensible default values for paste dispensing. So very likely the next video I'll be making on my channel will be about this tool and the process of going through and tuning all these values and getting paste dispensing working well, and as plug and play as I can get it for an MVP web tool. You can see I even have my paste extruder on my Lumen here because I'm in the middle of testing right now. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, comments, other things you'd like me to cover in these videos, please do not hesitate to reach out. You can either leave a comment underneath this YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube, or you can contact us at support.opulo.io and fill out our web form, and we'd love to hear any feedback from you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.